All right. I'm not really sure what to say, but the cards are giving it's not a time to move, or all right. So I'm going to try to give a little bit of like story slash things that I've learned from my life. There's still a lot of holes in my story that I'm trying to figure out, and a lot of memories that I don't have or whatever. I think that that's kind of just, we forget a lot of things as you get older too. Like I think that a lot of memories that we have are like from the happy times. I'm sure some of them are from traumatic times, but our brain has a way of like blocking out the pain. So I don't know how many like painful memories we have attached, or they're sort of like locked away in the subconscious and then they come up when it's time for you to heal it, type of thing. I think that it happens that way a lot. So anyways, I wanted to speak on soulmates versus shadowmates. I don't know why this is coming to me today, but I'm going to speak on it because shadow work, at least for me in my life, has been really, really crazy and intense. To me, both shadow work and inner child healing, I know I'm a little croaky, have been equally intense. Inner child healing is very like warming, heartwarming though. Like once you start to like connect and do, especially doing things for inner child, like play, and like it can be very fun, but shadow work is mostly just intense. I mean, it's finding truth is of course like beautiful in many ways, but it can be scary waking up to. So dealing with like pain and stuff like that isn't fun. Before I dated my ex, my baby daddy, I remember there were people around me who were pushing me to be with him, and I didn't really feel like a strong chemistry. I ended up being the one to kind of we were friends, but I kind of like made the first move. I kissed him first and stuff, but I'd never done anything like that before. I always wanted the guy to take the lead. I always like was seeking a masculine who was leading. And so I'm trying to figure out how to like not get sidetracked. So a lot for me, it's been relationships was what brought me to seeking the Most High and seeking a relationship with God and going to that first. And unfortunately, because of things that have happened in my life, I have developed trust issues, and don't wish on anyone. And I don't think that people are untrustworthy. And I definitely think that we need that. We need connection, because that's been something that's really been hard for me on this journey, is not knowing, having to continually like heal that part of me, through giving my power away and stuff like that. So nonetheless, there is a thing I believe that is like, we potentially have soulmates in this life, and maybe even not even necessarily like a romantic, like I'm not talking twin flame or anything like that, just like people that you meet that you have this like soul connection to, or even a past life connection maybe. But like I also think that we attract shadow mates that are people that we feel familiarity with because of potentially things that like how do I say this? I'm trying not to make this so super drawn out. They ease your shadow. They enable you essentially, because it's like they will like they enable your darkness. They're not going to hold you accountable. They don't hold you accountable for anything. So it's like that, this was like a crazy lesson and thing in my life with my ex, because it was like, we got along really well. We were friends. We made a really good team. But looking back, I'm like, I can see now that we enabled each other's shadow. We like to party and be adventurous and be dangerous. And like, there were a lot of things like that it was like, we weren't really compatible to be parents together. And like, he wasn't even a bad dad. Like, he was a good dad. And I'm still struggling with the whole talking about personal stuff, because it's not about throwing anybody under the bus, because I'm just as responsible for my end of everything. Like, that's kind of the point of this, is it's like, not being accountable for things gets you into a lot of trouble. But then when I was going through a hard time, then everything shifted once I had a child. And then it was totally different. And not to say our relationship as a whole was completely different, but it was like, there were all of these things started coming to light. We hadn't lived together before that. So that's also, you should always probably live with your person, just be very intimate with them, like get very close before having a child. I don't need to tell anyone that, but so anyways, and when I was going through my like darkest times, I wasn't held accountable for it. And I watched this person just kind of accept this crazy, because it wasn't like it was all the time, but it was like, it did get worse. And we did have these explosive fights. And look, even at the time, I was like, I hadn't really studied, relationships, and I didn't have that type of behavior with other guys that I dated. I definitely didn't pick all the right ones, but like having like explosive arguments or, destructive behavior, like that wasn't a thing. Like, that's the going down the path of abuse. And so, I put myself in therapy. So it was like, thankfully I just had this moral compass, I guess, that was like, because I had been in certain behaviors have been enabled in me as well prior to that and with my family. But my mom is very like, can be strict in some ways. I'm making a video. I need a minute, please. So anyways, this all going through the things that I went through with my child, and no one else was there. And I realized that the behaviors I was having were enabled by the people around me was really terrifying, honestly. So that's when I started seeking my spirit guides, my inner guidance. And then I moved home and then started to uncover all these things about my family. So then I walked into another like lion's den, without really realizing it. I mean, I kind of knew some things before that, but it's always going to be crazy with family, because you're always going to want to lean on your family for support. Like, those are the people that you're supposed to be able to lean on. And so, anyways, it's been a very, very long, crazy journey, and it has made me develop trust issues with people, unfortunately. But that's why I think that this is when you realize like this is the path for you, and that it's different ways that it happens, but like, it's not to say that people aren't trustworthy. It's just that shadow work is really crazy, and it's hard to face those parts of yourself. And it's easier for us to just enable that in each other. It's easier for us to just mold our energy to the people around us, not realizing that may not actually be beneficial. That may not be what's best. But there's so much else that comes with healing and facing your shadow and being isolated and realizing that everyone isn't for you, and standing in your power and in your truth, and people being triggered by that. And so there's a lot of other stuff that comes with the journey, but I didn't really have another option, because it's like, I have a child to protect. And it's like, I wanted to heal myself, and I didn't want to attract anyone else that I couldn't trust, that I didn't feel safe with, that didn't hold a mirror to my own issues, that, that wanted to sink the ship, essentially. It's like, no, I want to float the boat. I want to keep the boat afloat and keep moving forward. I don't want to be a part of the downfall. And so that's when you have to lean on God, because it's like, I've got to get back to this kid. I do think that there's people, I think there's soulmates out there, and I think there's people that you are blessings. And I know that I've met people in my life that are blessings, for sure. But it can be very scary. Like right now, what we're going through for me is it's just very overwhelming. But leaning on my inner guidance is like the one thing that keeps me afloat. And so it's like, I would rather do that than just move in desperation, because it's like, that's the danger. And that's what keeps us stuck. So I don't know. I just need to get this out, and I don't want to scare anybody. Because I hope that your journey isn't like mine, because it's, especially as a parent, it's like not feeling like you have your support group. It's like, that's very detrimental in a lot of ways. Like, it's not been healthy in some ways, I know. And it's been interesting because my child has his own like social thing. So it's like us just doing our own thing has worked in a lot of ways, but now we're at this place that he needs more, and I can't provide him more. And so I'm trying to just let things play out the way that they're meant to. But you deserve to have people that keep the ship floating. Like, I guess that's the overall message, is like, we all deserve that, especially when you've been through as much as you have. It's like, we need to be pushing each other to be better. We need to be holding each other accountable, holding a mirror up to each other, even if it's hard, because it's harder on the front end, but it's better in the long run, that we speak our truth to each other instead of just enabling each other and neglecting each other's needs. And the devil is really pushing really, really hard right now. So I know, anyway, sometimes speaking helps. And so just do what you need to do to take care of yourself. I got that message really hard too, that self-care goes a long way. Sometimes a little bit goes a long way. All right.